Hi guys, welcome again. So in this tutorial, we want to look at how to set up our VS Code IDE for Java development. So if you want to get the full tutorial on how to set it up, you can always come to this page, go to visualstudio.com/docs Java tutorial. I'll paste this link in the description. So the first thing is to install the Java coding pack for install the coding pack for Java on Windows. If you go to my, I've already downloaded that is the file that we have here. So I'm just going to double click the file to install it. So accept the license agreement. So it says Java Development Kit 23 OK, meaning I've installed it. Visual Studio 1.94.2 OK, meaning I've also installed that. The next thing is to install Java extensions. So you click on next to install the Java extensions. I think the Java extensions are already installing, so we are just going to wait for that to complete so that we can proceed. Now that the installation is all done, you can launch VS Code and click on finish. Here's the launch VS Code. If you go to your extensions section here, you can see the extensions that have been installed. So we have the debugger for Java installed, extension pack for Java installed, IntelliCode, Java language support, Maven, project manager for Java, and test runner for Java. So these are all the extensions that was installed by that installation that we just did. So still on the setup page here, so we have already installed the extension pack for Java. So the next thing is to set up the JDK, install and setting up the Java Development Kit, which is the JDK. So this section has already been done for us automatically by the installation. So it has set some variables for us in Visual Studio. If you go to your Visual Studio here, if you press Ctrl+Shift+P, and then you go to the settings, if you go to the settings JSON file here, it has helped you set a lot of configuration parameters here that are needed for Java development. You can see here there are quite a number of them. So this is what that installation does for you. So all that has been completed. So the next thing to do now is to just create our Java applications and start working. So to create a new Java application, you press F1 on your keyboard and then you search for Java, or you just do create Java application. So you click on create Java project here. Create Java project, you click on that. So it's going to ask you which build tool do you want to select. You click on Maven. So in the archetype here, you select the web app archetype. So you select that. You can use the latest version, which is 1.4 as at the time of this recording. Your package name, your default package name, com.example works for me. What do you want to call your app? Let's call it first web app. First web app. Okay, first dash web dash app. So I have that. You press enter on your keyboard. So it's going to ask you for the location that you want to be saving this in your folders. So let's assume that I use this location in my document, and then it's going to go ahead and generate the project for you. So in the terminal here, you still need some further parameters to set, which is the snapshot version 1.0 snapshot. You click on enter on the terminal here. For other settings as well, group ID, you press enter there, and then when it shows build success here, it means that your application has been created successfully. So in the terminal, you press enter. So I go to my documents in my Java folder where my project is created on. Here is my project, first web app. I drag and drop it to VS Code. So here's the project open for me. Trust the author. Yes, I trust the author. So if you open up the folder, you have the source folder. Inside it, you have the web app folder. You have the web in folder, where inside it you have the web.xml. You also have the index.jsp file, and of course your pom.xml file, which allows you to manage your project dependencies. So to make use of Tomcat in VS Code, you have to install an extension called Community Server. So you go to your extensions here, and then you search for Community Server. So there is Community Server. Community Server connectors by Red Hat. You make sure to install that. So Community Server is going to let you run your application on a web server, which is Tomcat in our instance. So now that Community Server is done installing, let's just close that out. We go to our file explorer. So in the SRC in the main folder, so we have the SRC main and web app folder. So what we have in VS Code here is different from what you usually have in Eclipse. So most of the files and folders that we need for our development are usually created for us in IDEs like Eclipse by default, but here we have to do some extra setup. So we right click on the main folder here. So we want to create some couple of folders that are going to represent the package that we created. So we click on new folder. So we are going to create a Java folder in the main. So we right click on the Java folder. So we want to create a new folder that we are going to name our package com. And then we right click the com folder. We create a new folder, example. So in the example folder, we are going to create a package. So our package, let's assume we call our package util as in utilities. So in our utilities package, then we can create a new Java file. So we call it class. So in here we are going to call it application servlet. So there we have it, application servlet Java with our package name com.example.util. So to work with JSP in our application, so we have to add the JSP dependency in our pom.xml file. If you go to your pom.xml file here, so you can see that we have the only dependency we have is JUnit here. So we need to add other dependencies as well. So to get a list of dependencies, you can always go to Maven repository. If you go to MVN repository here, so if you go to the Maven repository, you can always search for Servlet here. If you search for Servlet here, you can get that from here. JavaX Servlet API. So we need that. So if you scroll down to, you can get the version you want from here. So there are different versions here. So if you scroll down here, the latest version is 4.0.1. So we have 3.0. Okay, so let's assume we want to use 3.0.1. You click on 3.0.1, and then you want to copy the Maven dependency here. So this is what you copy here. You copy the dependency, and then you go to your VS Code in your dependency, you paste it here. Make sure that you are of course connected to the internet, because you are going to need to update your pom.xml file. If you save your pom.xml file, a pop-up is going to show up at the bottom here. So it says a build file was modified. Do you want to synchronize the Java class path configuration? You click on yes. So that is going to, that has automatically installed Java X Servlet dependency for you. So you come to your servlet here. So you want to complete the code here. So you want to say extend HTTP servlet. So you press enter on your keyboard. So it imports it automatically, HTTP servlet. So so you can create a constructor here. If you type in the ctor keyword, ctor, that's going to generate your constructor. So if you want the do get or the do post, let's assume you want the do post. If you do post and then you press enter, it's going to generate the do post method for you. So we have the do post. So if you want the do get method for get request, do get, though it's putting this termination here at the end of the line. I don't know why it does that, so I have to delete the termination most of the time because that would be a wrong code to write. So now the next thing is to complete all the boilerplate code and the templates that and the files and folders that we need to create. So in our web app folder, just like we did for the Eclipse setup, we are going to create a resources folder. So in the resources folder, we are going to have other folders which are our CSS. In the right click the resources, again we create the JS folder for the JavaScript files. I click the resources again, and then we create the images folder. So now that we have already specified that as our resource, our application resource location, we need to specify the servlet mapping to register that in our web.xml as our default location for our application files. So in the web.xml here, so you can see here you only have the display name, which is the name of the application. Just after that, you are going to create a servlet mapping section. Servlet mapping section, you open and close that. So you specify the servlet name and the URL pattern in the servlet mapping. So we have that servlet name is default, and then the URL pattern is / resources, which is the name of our resources folder that we have in our web app folder here, and everything after resources, either files or folders or whatever, that is what the star here indicates. Don't forget that in the web app folder, you can also have other folders. You can also create other folders that you can put your folders in there. For instance, if you have admin or home, you can put those in here. So we already have the index.jsp file here. Let's assume we create another file here, another HTML file here. And then we call that services.jsp. So we have that. If we do HTML5 here, it's going to give us the default HTML5 template from that. So we have to put the annotation here to indicate that these to indicate the default URL that loads. So you put the Java annotation here, /. So the / is for the is for when the page loads first. So when the page loads first, is going to run the do get method that we have here, because the first request when the page loads is a get request. So so just like we did, we have to get the action string action equals to request dot. So basically what this line of code gives you is that for it gets the URL for all the requests that you are making. That's what get servlet path always does. For instance, it gets the / URL. If you load the application for the first time, if you want to load services, it's going to get the services URL like this. If you want to load the about URL, and so on and so forth. So based on the what is stored in the action string variable, so we are going to create a switch statement. So switch action case whereby the URL is services. So we want to create a method that says show services. So and then we pass the request, and then we pass the response as well. So the request and response HTTP servlet parameter that we have here. So in the default section, so obviously the default section, this is the loads first when the page appears. So this is the first action. Obviously this is not the first action when you load the application. The first action is going to be a / which is going to come to the default section. So in that default section, we want to call a method that says show home, and then we pass the request, and then we pass the response. So now these files are not methods are not there, so you click on this bulb icon here, and then you click on create method. So that's going to create the method with the appropriate parameters. So same thing here, you click the bulb icon, and then you click on create method. It creates the method here. So to show the home page, we make use of the request dispatcher class. So request dispatcher, let's call this dispatcher is equals to request dot get request dispatcher. So that is going to be for the index.jsp file. So that's going, after that we say dispatcher.forward, and then we pass in the request and the response. So optionally we have to add the throws declaration on this method header. So throws SQL Server exception input output exception. So we repeating. We can repeat the same thing for the show services quickly. Paste that. Our services. Don't forget that our services is in the home services folder. So we're gonna say in the home services folder on the right hand side here. So that's going to be home / services.jsp. So here we click the light bulb icon to add the throws declaration for servlet exception and input output exception. So we save that. So the next thing is to create a server and run our project. I already have one server created here before, but I'm just going to, you go to the servers section here. So you'll get this section if you already installed your community server. So you right click on it, and then you want to create a new server. So do you want to download the server? No. You select no as the option because you already have the server installed on your machine. So it's going to ask you for the location of your server. That's in the C drive. If you go to your program files, Apache Foundation, Tomcat 11, you select the folder, you click on select desired location. So we have this server here, Tomcat 11, let me call it JSP. So Tomcat 11 JSP as the name of our server, and then you click on finish. So here is our server created here, Tomcat 11-JSP. So so to run the project for the first time, we need to create the WAR file, the .war file for our project. So we go to the Maven section here on the bottom left corner. So if you open the Maven section, your app is already listed here. So all you just need to do is to right click on that, run Maven command, and then you click on install. So you wait for the operation to complete and make sure that it builds successfully. So as you can see, from the screen here, the build is successful. I think there are no errors. So if the build is successful, you are going to have this folder here, target folder here created, and in target folder you are going to have your .war file here created. So sometimes you might get an error when you try to install the project using the moving tool. Sometimes it might be that your some dependencies are not up to date. For instance, you might have to change this from the default 1.7 that it has given you to like 1.8. If it says moving compiler source and target is outdated or something like that, so you can always make that change, but it's not usually like a lot of changes, but just simple changes. So I haven't done that. So the next thing is to right click on our .war file that is generated for us in the target folder and click on debug on server. Debug on server. So you select the server that you want. We want to use Tomcat 11 JSP, which is our server that we created. Do you want to edit optional deployment parameters? No. So you can see here it says that it's currently debugging. So in our browser, we go to localhost 8080. So that's going to load our Tomcat server. So we go to manager app. If it asks you for your login, our login for the Tomcat when we install this is admin. So you can always install that. So if you click on that, here is our home page.